A Trip to the City, Exploring a Bustling City Part 1. Once upon a time, in a small, quiet town, there lived a young girl named Emily. Emily had always dreamed of visiting the big city. She had heard so many stories about the tall buildings, the busy streets, and the exciting things to do there. One sunny morning, her dream finally came true. Emily's parents decided to take her on a trip to the city. The night before the trip, Emily was so excited that she could hardly sleep. She packed her favorite clothes, a hat, and her camera. "I want to take lots of pictures," she thought to herself. The next morning, they woke up early. The sun was just starting to rise, painting the sky with beautiful shades of pink and orange. Emily's dad drove their car, and soon they were on their way. As they left the small town, the roads became wider and more cars appeared. Emily looked out of the window and saw fields turning into houses, and then houses turning into buildings. The buildings kept getting taller and taller. Emily had never seen anything like it before. Her eyes grew wide with wonder. "Are we in the city yet?" she asked her mom. "Almost," her mom replied with a smile. "Look at all the people walking on the streets. The city is always full of life." When they finally reached the city, the first thing Emily noticed was the noise. There were cars honking, buses rumbling, and people talking loudly. It was so different from her quiet town, but Emily liked it. It felt like the city was alive, full of energy and excitement. The family decided to park their car and explore the city on foot. Emily's dad held her hand as they walked down the busy streets. There were so many people. Some were rushing to work, while others were just strolling around, enjoying the day. Emily saw people from all around the world. Some were dressed in business suits, and others in colorful clothes she had never seen before. As they walked, Emily saw a tall building made of glass. It was so shiny that it reflected the sky. "What's that building, Dad?" she asked. "That's a skyscraper," her dad explained. "It's one of the tallest buildings in the city. People work in offices inside." Emily tried to imagine what it would be like to work in such a tall building. She thought it must be fun to see the whole city from the top floor. They continued walking and soon found themselves in front of a big park. It was like a green island in the middle of all the tall buildings. There were children playing, people walking their dogs, and others just sitting on benches, reading books. "Let's take a break here," Emily's mom suggested. They found a bench under a big tree. The tree's leaves provided cool shade, and the breeze felt nice after walking in the sun. Emily took out her camera and started taking pictures. She captured the tall buildings around the park, the children playing, and even a cute little dog that came over to say hello. After resting for a while, they decided to visit a famous museum nearby. Emily had never been to a museum before, so she didn't know what to expect. As they walked inside, she saw all kinds of things: paintings, sculptures, and even old cars. Each exhibit had a story, and Emily listened carefully as her mom read the information. One painting caught Emily's eye. It was a picture of the city many years ago. The buildings were shorter, and there were horses instead of cars. Wow, the city has changed so much, Emily said. Yes, cities grow and change over time, her mom replied. That's what makes them so interesting. After the museum, they decided to find a place to eat. The city had so many different types of restaurants. There were places that served food from all over the world. Emily's family chose a small cafe with outdoor seating. They ordered sandwiches, and Emily tried a new drink called a smoothie. It was cold, sweet, and delicious. As they ate, Emily watched the people walking by. Everyone seemed to be in a hurry. Why is everyone rushing, Mom? She asked. City life is fast-paced, her mom explained. People are always busy with work, meetings, and other activities. But it's also what makes the city so exciting. Emily thought about her quiet town where everyone knew each other and life was slow and peaceful. The city was so different, but she liked it. It was full of surprises and new experiences. After lunch, they decided to visit a tall tower that had a viewing deck at the top. Emily was excited to see the city from above. They took an elevator that went up so fast that Emily's ears popped. When they reached the top, Emily ran to the edge of the deck and looked out. The view was amazing. She could see the entire city spread out below her. The streets looked like lines, and the cars were tiny dots moving along them. The buildings, which had seemed so tall from the ground, now looked like little blocks. Emily felt like she was on top of the world. This is the best day ever, she exclaimed, snapping pictures with her camera. As the sun began to set, the city lights started to twinkle. It was like the city was getting ready for a party. The streets below were still busy, but now they were filled with the warm glow of lights. Emily's dad pointed out a famous bridge in the distance. It was lit up and looked beautiful against the darkening sky. We should come back here at night, her dad said. The city looks even more magical when it's all lit up. Emily couldn't wait to see it. But for now, it was time to head back to their hotel. As they walked back, Emily felt tired but happy. The city had so much to offer, and she knew there was still more to explore. When they finally reached their hotel, Emily was ready to rest. Her feet were tired from all the walking, but her mind was full of memories. She couldn't wait to see what the next day in the city would bring. As she lay in bed, Emily thought about everything she had seen and done that day. The tall buildings, the busy streets, the beautiful park, and the amazing view from the tower. She smiled to herself, knowing that tomorrow would be another adventure. And with that thought, she drifted off to sleep, dreaming of the bustling city that she had fallen in love with. The city was full of life, and Emily couldn't wait to explore more of it. To be continued. A trip to the city, exploring a bustling city part 2. The next morning, Emily woke up feeling refreshed and excited. She jumped out of bed, ready for another day of adventure in the city. The sun was shining brightly through the window, and she could hear the faint sounds of the city waking up, cars starting, people talking, and birds chirping in the distance. After a quick breakfast at the hotel, Emily's parents asked her what she wanted to do that day. "There's so much to see and do," her dad said. "We could visit more museums, go shopping, or maybe even take a boat ride on the river." Emily thought for a moment. She loved the idea of seeing more of the city, but she also wanted to do something fun and different. Then she remembered the bright lights of the city at night that her dad had mentioned. "Can we see the city at night?" she asked eagerly. "I want to see all the lights, and maybe go somewhere high up again to see the view." Her parents smiled. "That sounds like a great idea," her mom said. "We can spend the day exploring, and then in the evening, we'll find a good spot to see the city lights." With their plan set, they headed out to explore more of the bustling city. As they walked through the streets, Emily noticed something new at every corner. There were street performers playing music, artists painting portraits, and vendors selling all kinds of things: jewelry, clothes, and even food. They decided to start the day by visiting a famous shopping street. It was known for its big stores and fancy shops. As they walked, Emily's eyes widened at the sight of the colorful displays in the windows. Emily's mom suggested they go into a large department store. Inside, it was like a whole new world. The store had several floors, each one filled with different things. There were clothes, toys, books, and even a section for electronics. Emily felt like she could spend the whole day just exploring the store. They rode an escalator up to the toy section, and Emily's eyes sparkled with excitement. There were dolls, action figures, puzzles, and games. She saw a row of stuffed animals and immediately ran over to them. There was a soft, fluffy teddy bear that caught her attention. It was brown with a red ribbon around its neck. Emily hugged it tightly. "Do you like it?" her mom asked, smiling. "I love it," Emily replied. Her parents decided to buy the teddy bear for her as a souvenir from their trip. Emily was thrilled and held on to the bear as they continued their shopping adventure. They explored more floors, looking at clothes and books, and even stopped at a small cafe inside the store for some ice cream. Emily chose strawberry, her favorite flavor. After finishing their shopping, they decided to visit a nearby market. This market was different from the fancy stores. It was full of small stalls with people selling handmade items, fresh fruits and vegetables, and even street food. The smell of grilled meat, fresh bread, and spices filled the air. Emily's dad bought some fresh fruit, and they decided to try a local snack called pretzels. The pretzels were warm, soft, and salty, and Emily couldn't get enough of them. "These are so good," she said, taking another bite. As they walked through the market, Emily saw a stall with colorful scarves and hats. The woman at the stall was knitting a scarf right there, using bright red and blue yarn. Emily watched in amazement as her hands moved quickly, creating the pattern. "Would you like to buy a scarf?" the woman asked, smiling at Emily. Emily looked at her parents, who nodded. She chose a bright blue scarf, thinking it would be perfect for the cold days back home in her small town. After the market, they decided to visit another famous spot in the city, the zoo. Emily had always loved animals, so the idea of seeing so many in one place made her very happy. The zoo was large, with many different sections. There were lions, elephants, monkeys, and even a section with sea animals. They started by visiting the lions. Emily was amazed at how big and powerful they looked. The lions were lying in the shade, their golden fur shining in the sunlight. One of the lions yawned, showing its big teeth, and Emily gasped. "Don't worry, they're safe behind the fence," her dad said, laughing. Next, they visited the elephant enclosure. The elephants were huge, with long trunks and big ears. Emily watched as one of the elephants used its trunk to pick up some hay and put it in its mouth. "They're so smart," she said. They continued exploring the zoo, visiting the monkey house, where the monkeys swung from the trees and made funny faces at the visitors. Emily couldn't stop laughing. The zoo also had a section with colorful birds. There were parrots, flamingos, and even a peacock that spread its beautiful feathers, showing off all the colors of the rainbow. After spending a few hours at the zoo, it was time for lunch. They found a small cafe inside the zoo and ordered sandwiches and juice. Emily couldn't stop talking about all the animals she had seen. "This city is amazing," she said between bites. "There's so much to see and do." As the day went on, they visited more places. They went to a science center where Emily got to play with interactive exhibits and learn about space, electricity, and even dinosaurs. There was a giant globe that showed all the countries of the world, and Emily spent some time looking for her own small town on the map. Finally, as the sun began to set, it was time for the part Emily had been looking forward to the most, seeing the city at night. Her dad suggested they go to a famous observation wheel, also known as a Ferris wheel, which would give them a great view of the city lights. The observation wheel was huge, and each cabin was like a little room with big windows. Emily felt a little nervous as they got on, but once the wheel started moving, her nervousness turned into excitement. As they went higher and higher, the city below started to glow with lights. The streets were lined with bright lamps, the buildings were lit up, and even the river sparkled with reflections. "This is beautiful," Emily exclaimed, pressing her face against the window. She could see the skyscrapers, the bridges, and all the places they had visited that day. The city looked like a sea of lights, stretching out in every direction. As the wheel slowly turned, Emily's dad pointed out different landmarks. "Look, there's the bridge we saw yesterday," he said. "And over there is the tower we visited." Emily nodded trying to take it all in. She couldn't believe how different the city looked at night. It was like a whole new place, full of magic and wonder. She took out her camera and started snapping pictures, trying to capture the beauty of the city lights. When their ride on the observation wheel was over, they decided to take a walk along the river. The river banks were lined with lights, and there were boats gliding along the water, their lights reflecting on the surface. Emily held her parents' hands as they strolled along, enjoying the cool evening breeze. They came across a small park by the river, where people were sitting on benches, listening to a street musician playing the guitar. The music was soft and soothing, and it made Emily feel peaceful. She sat down on a bench, her new teddy bear in her lap, and listened to the music. "This city has so many sides," her mom said. "During the day, it's busy and full of life. But at night, it's calm and beautiful in a different way." Emily nodded. "I love both," she said. "The city is exciting, but it's also nice to relax and enjoy the quiet moments." As they continued their walk, they passed by a row of street food stalls. The smell of freshly made food filled the air, and Emily felt her stomach rumble. Even though they had eaten dinner earlier, the food smelled too good to resist. They decided to try a popular city snack called waffles. The waffles were warm, crispy on the outside, and soft on the inside, with sweet syrup drizzled on top. "This is the best day ever," Emily said again, enjoying her waffle. As they made their way back to the hotel, Emily felt tired but incredibly happy. The city had shown her so many new and exciting things, from the busy streets and tall buildings to the peaceful parks and beautiful night lights. She knew that this trip was something she would remember forever. When they finally returned to their hotel room, Emily climbed into bed, her new teddy bear by her side. As she closed her eyes, she thought about everything she had seen and done during her trip to the city. She realized that the city was not just a place to visit. It was a place full of life, with stories and adventures waiting to be discovered. As she drifted off to sleep, Emily smiled, knowing that she had experienced something truly special. The city was full of surprises, and she couldn't wait to come back one day and explore even more. The end.